Do you know, Robert, how we always talk about there's been too much content since the development of the printing press? Like we've used that in speeches.
I suppose we might be shocked that there's that much content.
Yeah. All right. So here's what I want to run by you. Just I think it's interesting. I don't know if you'll have a take, but you generally do.
Yes.
So here's basically what this is. Since the dawn of time, up to 2003, we produced.
Is 2003 the dawn of time?
Up until I don't know. No. Okay. Zero. So whatever like prehistoric data collection we have.
Og and Grog in the cave.
Up until 2003.
Got it.
That was 5 exabytes of information.
Okay.
And now this research study that I'm looking at here says we create that in about 72 hours. I just think that's interesting.
It is interesting. It just that shows you what a lot of cat memes will get you. I mean,
or how about a lot of LinkedIn posts on resilience?
Yeah, right. or being thankful, right? I'm so thankful for my own genius. Yes.
My word for the year: gratitude.
Gratitude. Oh, but we're not cynical. We're not.
No, I was not expecting. Although I am expecting this week we're going to have a flawless technical broadcast.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm back in the office.
Indeed. Hey, look, I wake up in the morning and produce 5 exabytes of content. So ain't nobody got nothing on
you
me.
Can really take that the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like you, like I don't even want to see your bathroom.
So. Yeah.
All right. That's enough.
And now for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. I'm Robert Rose, and with me, as always, and this time in a much clearer way, in a much more technicolor way, in beautiful 1080p is my co-host, a guy whose, well, his State of the Union wasn't an hour and a half, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
Is that how long it was? Did they?
Hour 45, I think is what it was.
I heard it was
longest in history.
The longest.
Yeah.
I haven't. I did not watch it.
It was definitely the airing of the grievances. That's for sure.
Did you watch it?
I know. Oh God, no. No. I didn't watch it. I heard about it. I saw that it was on, and saw a few YouTube clips, but no, I did not. I did not punish myself.
I watched a couple clips on it. And just the dichotomy is crazy. So from one area of the news, it basically said it had more untruths in it than any other State of the Union that's never happened. And
I don't think it was close. Yeah, I'm not sure it was even
on the other side. There was somebody that said it was the absolute greatest State of the Union address that has ever happened.
Yeah. Well,
what?
That's where we are. And here we are, right? That's the whole point. I'll get to this a little bit later when I get to my rants and raves, but it is, we have gotten to, as I'm calling it, I said in my newsletter this week that, we've gotten to the rendered world, right? Everything is rendered, and it is rendered in a narrative that, you can either be part of or you can be the narrative. And it's everything is a story. So it's, yeah.
That's why I like going on all these vacations I go on. Because I purposely don't watch this stuff. And when you go into a bar, they're generally playing ESPN, which is, it's kind of safe ground. For the most part.
That is, sports can be, up until last week.
Until you'll talk about it a little bit.
Sports can be like sort of the one place that you don't have to deal with all that stuff. But here we are again.
I guess. But I'm excited because spring training is here. So baseball has started.
Pitchers are meeting, right? Yes.
Games are start. Yeah, games have started.
It's fantastic.
We're into it. Very, very excited. But the thing that maybe I already told you this, but my youngest and I, we have been going down to Goodyear, Arizona, every year to watch the
Oh,
Guardians
wow.
play. We usually go for a couple games and try to get one at their stadium, and one like last year we went to the Dodgers spring training facility and saw Shohei Ohtani, which was a thrill to see him in person. This year, we have decided not to do that. We're going to go to the World Baseball Classic, where we don't know who's playing yet. It could be Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. It could be the U.S. We have no idea, but we're going to go down and watch the last 2 games of the World Baseball Classic. Which,
oh, that's fantastic.
well, it's interesting.
Where do they hold that?
It's held in the different parts of the world. In the U.S., it's Houston. Like the play-in games are Houston and Miami, but the finals are all in Miami at Tampa.
To
Not
Miami.
Tampa. Miami. The Miami not Miami. What's the Marlins name? What's the Florida team called now?
You want me to know that?
Miami. Is it Miami Marlins? Are they? They keep changing their name. Anyway, the Miami team. We're going to Miami, and I'm really excited about that. And it's probably a good choice, because if we were going to go to spring training, all the stars wouldn't be there. Because they're all getting ready.
That's right. Yeah, they don't.
So
that's the thing these days. I mean, I guess that's in baseball. I mean, I'd love to get your take on this, actually. I guess the thing in baseball that everybody's all mad about is now sort of adopting the Dodgers strategy of sitting stars with quote unquote injuries for many, many games, because they don't need to play them or whatever. And so they're saving them basically for the playoffs. Is that a thing, or am I just reading too much into the news?
That is not that's a thing in basketball. That has been a thing, and there are fines going on in basketball. To my
basketball,
knowledge,
I've heard it as well.
That's not happened because of the fact that even the season is so long. I guess you can rest somebody here and there, but even the Dodgers, I mean, they had to really fight to make the playoffs last year. Now, once they got in, they were fine. Like, you really, it's fairly, it seems it's not competitive like the NFL, but I don't want to go into all the baseball stuff, but I'm kind of confident we're going to have a strike next year. Because of the issues that we're having, where you've got the Dodgers that can spend so much more money than a team like the Guardians can, specifically because of the television deals. So you have New York, and you have Boston, and you have Chicago, and you have LA, that they're able to do, $500 million long-term deals, deferred deals. And
there's no cap, right? There's no spending cap in baseball.
There's basically, you pay a luxury tax. If you've got the money, you don't care. You just pay it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's no real penalty for that. I don't know what they're going to, and so they're going to come to the table where the small market teams say, "Hey, what are we going to do about this to make it a little bit more equivalent?" Players aren't going to want to say there's going to be a cap. They don't want a cap.
Right.
They like this. This is really
exactly
good.
right. Yeah. Exactly.
So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm a little bit sad about all that stuff, but tis sports.
Tis sports,
but I like this time of year. I like when basketball is going into playoffs, and then we've got Major League Baseball
March Madness coming up. Yeah, for sure.
March Madness is coming up, and no Browns to worry about.
No, not for a little bit. Yeah, not for a little bit,
or not forever. Probably. I just don't have to worry about it at all. I don't know. Whatever. Anything else? What else did I miss while I was gone?
You didn't. Well, I mean, you missed a lot. I mean, with regard to the Olympics and with regard to, everything else in the world. We're going to go to war soon. Let's see what else is new. There's a lot going on, but isn't there always these days?
Yeah, I know. I want to go back to. Here's a question I'll ask you, because I was, and then we'll go on to like the show.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, or they were talking about this question in our friend group. If you had to go, like, what was your best year? Like, if you had to go to a year that was your most happy, your happiest year, what would it be?
Oh, Go to my happiest year?
Well, I'll tell you why this came up, because
Okay.
there's a movie out called Eternity. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard about it.
I have heard
But
about it, yes.
but basically, when you pass away, your body, your person, you're represented by whenever you believed that you were your happiest. So if you were your happiest at 65 years old, you are 65 years old in whatever heaven is. If you were happiest at 18, you come in at 18. I
Okay.
just thought that that was interesting. So we got into this discussion about what age would you be?
Yeah.
Like, what would be your happiest? That's a tough
Wow.
question, right?
It is a hard question. It is a really hard question. I think I would either have to go all the way back to like 8 or 9 years old, like pre-teen years. Because my teenage years were, well, let's just say, the consequences of my actions are quite inconsequential. Yeah, I had really interesting teen years. Um, or now, honestly, I think now is probably this last year has been 2025 and into 2026. Aside from everything else happening in the world, I think right now it's probably my happiest.
I think that that's what I would want. I mean, it really is a tough. Like I would
It's
say,
hard. It's so
I go
hard.
back
Yeah.
like my wife and I were talking. 2016 was an incredible year for us.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
When
For
we
sure.
sold the business, and we went on a wonderful vacation, and a couple of them with the kids, and we did some really amazing things that year. But also, I remember that was a really tough year. The beginning of that year was
stressful year,
really
yeah.
tough for me
Yeah, yeah.
because that deal almost didn't go through multiple
Yeah,
times.
that's
And I was
right.
just like, and it was angst. Like the first 6 months,
Oh.
all angst. The last 6 months were
Do
fantastic.
you remember those breakfasts we used to have? You and I, we would sit there and talk about the deal, and we would talk about the challenges and how we were going to do this and how we were going to do that. God, that was actually it. Look, for me, it was a lot more fun than for you, because for me, it was an intellectual exercise and a game and a fun puzzle to try and figure out. For you, I know it's like it's your life, right? So it's like, yeah, that was a great year. You're right.
It was interesting. I still
Yeah.
remember the one point where something happened. I'm not going to go into the details, but something happened in the deal where I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing
Yeah,
it.
I remember. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
So I said, I'm done. I'm not doing it. And I
Yep.
talked to Pam, my wife, about it. And she's like, look, this is your decision ultimately. But she was co-owner in the company. And she said, if you believe that we shouldn't do this, don't do it. And then I talked to one of my mentors, and I said I wasn't going to do it. And he said, well, what do you want? And I said, well, what I really want is this. And they're giving me this. And
Right.
he said, ask for what you want.
Right.
And pull back on the things that aren't as important.
Right.
So basically what I did was I said, okay, I will pull back on the money a little bit because I really want these 3 things.
Yeah.
And I went and fought for those 3 things. And then I took a hit on the other side. And man, that was the greatest piece of advice ever, because I was almost like defeated. Like I had to walk away because they were doing this. And he's like,
Right.
no, you don't have to. This is called
Right.
negotiation.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what you do. You go back, and that's when I was like, and I tell this to people, and you do as well. But when you mentor other people and about making decisions, you always say, write down the things that what are the most important things to you right now? What do you need to have happen? Those are the things we're going to focus on, and where we can give, we give.
Yeah.
So
that's my grandfather gave me the advice. I give this advice all the time to young professionals, which is negotiate for what you want, not what you think you can get.
Yep.
So
that's such great advice. So
yeah.
Speaking of what the listeners want.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. We got a good show. We got an interesting show coming up here. We're going to start and talk about Purposely Clueless. Everybody thinks Unilever's creator strategy, going all in on creator strategy, which we've talked about on this show, is stupid. But especially Mark Ritson thinks it's stupid. So we'll talk about whether it is stupid or not. Then we'll talk about the stupidity that might be Facebook. So basically, the Zuckerberg gold mine, basically move over millennials because, hey, there's money to be made on Facebook if you're a creator, but maybe there's not that much money. Maybe you have to be living in a particular part of the world to actually make anything meaningful here. And we'll talk about that situation. Then we'll get to, all right. We're going to talk about Matthew McConaughey and how he's going to AI all the way through Hollywood. They're going to take your girl. Yeah. So him and Timothy Chalamet had a discussion about AI. We will talk a little bit about that. And then if we get time, we will talk about how OpenAI now admits that ChatGPT is for your sad personal life, not for your career. So interesting article on that. We'll get to our marketers, winners, and losers. I'm going to talk about the loser that is the American men's hockey team, but I promise, I know you've seen more on this than you want to see. I have a marketing and communications take on this. So it's the same loser thing that you think it might be. Joe is going to talk about the winner that is an AI creator who's making big bets on phone landlines, and that'll be super
I love this. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, so then I will get to our rants and raves, and I'm going to rave/rant/commentary because it's still an unfinished story about what's going on with Anthropic this week and how they are digging in their heels, but also loosening safety standards. We'll talk about how that might affect their brand. And Joe will provide some commentary on the Matt Schumer post that has gone viral and that everybody is sort of commenting on. And you can stay tuned for that because it's likely that the fisticuffs, Joe and I will actually come to fisticuffs on that particular issue.
Because I respect you as a person. I would never. I respect your opinion.
There you go.
So
there you go.
All right,
let's go. Yeah, let's get to it. So our first story is going to come to us courtesy of Ad Week, and basically the headline is the Unilever CEO has a new marketing doctrine, and it's completely wrong, says Mark Ritson, in his usual.
You don't like Mark Ritson, do you?
No. I like Mark. Okay, I like
Mark. Is a really good thinker, really good writer.
He's a really good thinker. I don't disparage him. He and I don't agree on a lot, but I really appreciate his thinking. Yeah, I appreciate his thinking.
But again, I mean, this is an interesting title, right? Unilever CEO has a new marketing doctrine, and it's completely wrong. You know that the Ad Week editorial team probably created that title. They want something.
Oh, no. Ritson created that title.
You
for
think
sure.
That's a title?
Oh, yeah. Ritson likes to be prickly. Yeah. Ritson loves being prickly and provocative. Yeah. He that's his sort of signature is basically telling everybody why they're wrong. So
anyways, go ahead.
Anyway, so the article opens up by saying the times of big corporate, big brand messages are gone, said Fernando Fernandez. That's the Unilever CEO. That he told investors that at the Consumer Analyst Group of New York conference last week. This Unilever CEO went further by saying his company was pivoting to a quote unquote social first demand model, arguing that an army of creators will replace the traditional advertising that had built Unilever's brands for half a century. Before we get to whether he's right, let's appreciate how strange it is that he's saying it at all. And then the article goes on to talk about how Ritson is basically saying CEOs don't really ever comment on this kind of strategy and whether they're, what their company is going to be doing from a marketing sort of perspective. And then he goes on to basically, I guess, tear apart the argument that the big brand advertising is dead and that they should, be doing that. And then also basically calls Unilever to task because saying that they're already doing big brand advertising. They're, in other words, they're not actually backing up what they're saying here. They're doing both. Is his ultimate thing here. So I thought it was really interesting because we covered on this show the fact that Unilever was actually moving in this direction when they announced it end of last year, I think it was. And now here's Ritson basically saying, no, either A, you're not doing it, and B, it would be stupid if you did. And I'd love to get your take on this sort of from your perspective of what you think. Good strategy, bad strategy, and or is there something in the middle here?
So a couple things. If a large brand, large enterprise focuses on a creator-led strategy, they do it. They've been doing it historically with social influencers that don't work for the company. I've been a proponent for the last many months and we've talked about this, about training and focusing on internal employees as your best marketers and creators and helping them with that. And right now, especially with the glut of AI content, we'll talk about some of this later in the show, that we need to focus on this, specifically the internal creators within Unilever, let's say, to use this as an example. That doesn't mean it replaces their advertising program. And Ritson even goes into detail, like you were saying, that if you look at the numbers, even if, they're spending at least $4 billion right now. I think last year it was $9 billion on brand and advertising. It's a lot of money. So even looks like at least half of that is going to remain. My take is different. So whatever, Ritson thinks that you need advertising. He's looking for a total marketing plan that includes advertising and content creation and social media. And I agree with that. I think that you don't just go one direction on anything. You kind of look at what's working, and markets are all different. Unilever's in almost every market. But I think this is, I don't know if you would call it a Trojan horse, or you would say, I think this is a CEO getting out there and saying, this is what we're doing, and them not doing it at all. Yeah, I think that,
which is common, by the way. It's very common. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, by the way, we have a lot of examples about a CEO or a leader of an organization going out there and saying one thing, and then the organization doing something else. I think that's what's happening. And Unilever wants all of their challenger brands out there that are against them to say, oh, we got to go this direction and not advertising. And that just leaves cheaper advertising for Unilever. That was when I read it. That's how I took it. I said, what a bunch of BS this is.
Yeah.
I don't know what your take is.
I think it's, yes, I 100% agreed with you on this. So we used to, there was to your point about the CEOs getting up and saying, we see this all the time. Especially in B2B, right? Yep. But even in, even in other B2C, remember Beth, I'm forgetting her last name. She was the chief CMO of GE for a while and was noted content marketing genius, doing all this story. Beth Comstock, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is a genius and is wonderful and did a lot of great programs. But was getting all sort of accolades around the idea of content marketing and doing documentaries and hiring influencers and doing all the things that she was doing. And if you talk to the practitioners down in the GE brands, they'd be like, hey, we'd like a word because we're still down here trying to do Google ads, right? We're still trying to keep the lights on down here while they're doing all this fun, interesting brand stuff. So at a big company like GE or Unilever or wherever, the CEO has little knowledge of actually what's really going on in marketing, what's really hitting the streets. What he's speaking to, I think, is they're and the innovative part of what they are doing, which I think they really are doing, is they are layering in much more of the social influencer people, both employees and social influencers, micro influencers, et cetera, much more in a much more integrated way than they've done in the past. Because let's be honest, Unilever was basically that's all they did. All their brands were basically TV, 30-second spots, billboards, basically brand advertising, and then working with distributors on performance marketing stuff like couponing and slotting fees and all that stuff. That was sort of the two elements of business to business consumer marketing, right? Of that ilk. And now it's much more of a direct to consumer pitch now that the social media has emerged, et cetera, et cetera. So for them, this is a new, innovative, interesting thing because that they haven't done before. And I can see why the CEO wants to go, hey, this is kind of cool that this thing we're doing is really interesting. It's now, should we pick a fight with it? Like, is Ritson right to pick a fight with it? Maybe a little. I mean, because, look, he knows the CEO is going to get up on stage and overstate things. And he knows it's all about the conference keynote where they play the video of all the cool stuff that they're doing because it makes them look great. And he looks great on a keynote and everybody goes home happy and he gets some earned media press coverage and yay. So is he right to pick the fight? I think the discussion is valuable for sure. I think what he talks about is valuable. I think he's a little over it's a little bit like, criticizing the casino because, well, the gambling's a little more unfair than we actually believe. We're led to believe, so I look at Ritson's article here and go, okay, fine. you got 1,000 words on this, right? So good for you, but I think the critique's a little overblown.
Well, it's funny you mentioned GE. I remember when Julie Fleischer, who spoke at Content Marketing World for Kraft Food and Family, and we talked about Kraft Food and Family all the time. Like
everybody did.
This is a brand content marketing case study that we all want to look at, and she struggled every year getting that thing approved.
Exactly.
Every year inside the company, but outside
every year she would stop us in the hall and
say,
"I wish somebody would tell my boss all this good news because I'm still making a business case every year for this."
So, but again, like we've talked about, right sizing of marketing or right sizing of a business model. It has been true since Unilever started to get into advertising that they over-indexed in advertising. Why? Because it worked really, really, really well.
Yes.
Well, now we're at a point where it doesn't work nearly the same way that it does, and they're trying to index properly with, we need advertising, and then we're also going to slot these other things in that we haven't been doing for a long time that a lot of our other competitors have.
Exactly. So, and the recognition that this is new for them. Like, it's not new for everybody, right? B2B brands and smaller consumer brands and,
or like Disney. Disney's been doing this for 20 years. Disney had mommy blogger influencers like since blogging was invented, and they did a really good job of that kind of a program where Unilever wasn't doing anything around that at the time.
That's right. Or would do it in very small pockets, et cetera, et cetera. So
but the thing to remember is I think where we're going to see the difference, and hopefully we'll cover some of the news on this show, is the movement not just to social media influencers or short form content influencers that are not associated with the company. We want to see employees as well. That's where a lot of, I think, CEOs, like a CEO from Unilever, feels there's too much risk there because, we'll let employees like be the most they're the most important people in our organization, our most important stakeholders, but we're not going to let them create content. Right. So I think that's where we're at right now. That's too risky. But I think they're going to look at it and say, if we're going to get involved in this, we're either going to go this direction or we're going to be invisible.
Yes.
Like there's a new argument to be made.
Surface your people. Yeah.
And so I'd like to see that. That's like, I hope that Mark Ritson has the next story. Like, hey, Unilever now leveraging its employees as storytellers. That would be a great article. I hope that happens.
Well,
but he won't write it.
No, he because he doesn't love that, by the way. He's not a big fan. So,
well, he probably wants to go back to 1985.
Well, he's got his whole mini MBA thing, and he's got his, he's a classic guy. He's definitely he loves his
classically trained.
Yeah. Which is again, that's not a critique. It's like it is what is. He's like me. He's old school, right, in that particular way, and he knows his shit, right. He is a very, very, very smart marketer, who is mostly wrong.
I always every time I see Mark Ritson, I think of Mark Ronson, who's
that's a different person. Yeah. That's a different Mark.
That's for sure. It's like that's the one that did the thing with Bruno Mars. That's this is at ice cold Michelle Pfeiffer. What's that song?
That's
straight master beat. What is that?
Yeah,
living it up in the city.
Yeah,
that's Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars, yeah.
Too high. Hot damn. Got a phone. Okay. Somebody see. I only know half of every song.
All right. Let's do our last pay the bills with our wonderful 1980s glam rock.
This is the last one.
Of the month. We're going to be starting next month, and I'll tell you on the other side what the genre is going to be.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Caffeine and rage, had a StreamYard set up and a blank landing page.
Hey marketers, using only 20% of your business data is like dating somebody who only texts emojis. First of all, that's annoying. Second, you're missing a lot of context. But that's how most businesses operate today, using only 20% of their data. Unless that is, you have HubSpot, where all the emails, call logs, and chat messages turn into insights to grow your business. Because all that data makes all the difference. Learn more today at HubSpot.com. Are you ready to make your billion-dollar move? Well, you should listen to the Billion Dollar Moves podcast, hosted by Sarah Chen Spellings, which features deep dives with founders and funders and building major companies. Billion Dollar Moves examines how enduring companies and the capital behind them are built. Through long-form conversations, the show explores decision-making under uncertainty, capital allocation, and the inflection points that shape category-defining businesses. From early platform backstories to allocator frameworks used across private markets, the focus is on judgment, incentives, and long-term value creation beyond the headlines and hype. You can find Billion Dollar Moves wherever you follow your favorite pods.
Rims loud and my bounce rate's low. This song's just a funnel set to blow. So paying the bills ain't shameful, soft or small. Yeah. It's a glam-stained glory code. I ain't selling out, baby. I'm just paying them all.
I'm gonna miss that one.
I'm gonna miss that one too. That shot at the end.
I-
I let it linger in silence just because it's just so delicious.
Because our jaws are dropping. I still love the fact it's such a little thing, but the fact that you pulled a burrito out of another burrito. I am amazed by that.
It's got a lightning. For some reason, it has a lightning imprint on it.
Well, if you were going to be a superhero and you're like, well, what would be my thing?
To be able to
What's
pull
my
a burrito from a
superpower? And if
burrito,
you could multiply burritos, do you know how popular you'd be? Look at this.
Call me
Don't
Podcast
worry.
Jesus. That's why they call
my
me
God.
Podcast Jesus. I turn
We
burritos
have-
into burritos.
There's 8 people here and we have 1 burrito. What do we do? Don't
You
worry.
call Podcast
Burrito
Jesus
boy.
and-
Here comes Burrito boy. And look at all my instead of the fishes, it's the burrito.
This is good.
That's sacrilegious. You shouldn't have said that.
That's okay. That's all right. That's okay.
Oh my
All right.
goodness.
Okay. Hey, so do you want to do the Zuckerberg story? Or do you want to do you want to go right into McConaughey? What do you
I want to quickly do the Facebook one. Let's
Okay,
do
great.
the
So
Facebook
we're calling this the Zuckerberg gold mine. Move over millennials. It basically looks like the only people who are going to be able to make money on Facebook are Indonesian creators. And so this is coming to us courtesy of a site called the Rest of the World, restofworld.org, which is okay. Yeah, you do you. And the article opens up by saying Facebook's new content monetization program is booming. And Indonesian creators are leading the charge, giving the platform a much-needed boost to compete with YouTube and TikTok. The program has grown from under 3 million to 12 million participants in just over a year. Accounts in Bahasa Indonesia made up nearly 15% of the platform's total monetized accounts in January 2026, forming the largest group of non-English content on the platform. The content monetization program was splintered across platforms, growing marginally around the world, just 2.7 million total users enrolled. Creators often prioritize rival platforms like YouTube and TikTok because their younger audiences better reach and engagement opportunities. YouTube paid $70 billion to creators through 21 to 23. Facebook doled out $2 billion in 2024. Basically, the article goes on to talk about how there ain't much money there, but what money is getting spent is basically getting really driven out of the folks in Indonesia. So what? Well, I don't really understand this very much, but go.
So Our friend Simon Owens had a take on this, and it's basically that Facebook pays so little money in the form of real
Well, there you go.
dollars
Yeah.
to creators that most content creators who are looking for, like, where do I monetize my content? Facebook doesn't pay them enough to make it worthwhile. So that's where in other countries that don't have as much money as, say, North American countries or European countries, they're the ones that are doing all this content creation on Facebook. So Facebook is leaning into that, of course. So great.
Right.
So at the same time, you also see there's been articles and increasingly more articles about Facebook leaning into artificial content, synthetic content there as well, because it's cheaper. It's made by more individuals that are outside the United States. And I think that's where Facebook is headed, like more than it already is. And I think
Right.
it's a really big signal to say that companies like Meta believe that they don't need historically what we've seen as the creator economy pool or marketers for they don't need content from those sources. They can get it cheaper elsewhere from synthetic means or from other countries. And ultimately they won't need it from creators at all. That's where I think it's going, where we might be going to Facebook in 2 years where 99% of the content is synthetic or created, and the rest of it is probably going to be created from Indonesia and Vietnam and Thailand and other countries that that are not the United States. So it's just interesting to see. So basically, I look at this as another big signal of where Meta is going. And they're going to continue to go there because it's cheaper for them, and they're not seeing any less engagement. So
Well,
they're going to do it.
I mean, that's when you ultimately get to it, right? It's like that's the arbitrage is how do we get users to cheaply create the most content, because that gets more to throw against the wall, which some of it sticks and provides for stickiness for serving up more ads.
Yep.
And so it's that this goes back to your business, right? The publishing business, where it's like there was a time very early on when you could arbitrage Google traffic, right? Where it's like you bought ads for an article, but then you got paid, but the ads that you would purchase for promoting the article would actually be less money than what you would get for the number of page views against the ads that you were actually running on that page. And so you just do that at scale, and you can spend a lot of money on promoting things through Google Ads. But let's be clear, Google is making the money there. You know what I mean? It's like Google is making the money in that because they're getting paid on both sides of that equation, right? Facebook's getting paid, on both sides of that equation too. One, they're getting slop or good content or bad content or whatever, but they're getting content for as cheap as they can possibly get it. And then they're also getting the arbitrage on the other side, which of course is the money that they're getting for advertising against all that cheap content.
Yep. So it's just another, I don't know, Meta's in court this week, but Meta has no underlying mission to be good for humanity.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's the thing that scares me the most about what's going on.
None of them do, really. None of them have any. I mean, we'll talk
you're
about
gonna,
safety
you're gonna
here
talk,
in a minute.
You're going to talk about AI and safety in a little bit.
Yeah,
this is my big concern. And even with like I wrote an article which will be out as this, it's already out as this program is published, about the problem with short form content creation. Like if your short form content doesn't go to a longer form story, and it just is part of the machine that is, for the most part, killing people's brains,
right,
and leading to addiction and leading to depression and leading to all kinds of horrible things, you are part of the problem. Like, we need to think as creators whether or not short form content is something we should do for humanity.
Right.
Meta and Microsoft and every company, Apple, all these companies, they're not thinking about any of that. They don't care about that. All they're caring about is the bottom line. And I get it, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
But we don't have, as creators and marketers, we don't have to play into that. Like, we can actually make a choice and say, okay, maybe it won't be as effective.
Which sandbox are you going to go play in? Yeah. Which sandbox are you going to go play in, basically?
So, anyway. All right. So that's that.
All right, moving very quickly here to very quickly we can cover this, which is Matthew McConaughey was on a variety show, not a variety show, but a show put on by Variety, which they do a lot, which are artists talking to other artists. It's a really good series that they do, by the way. There's been a ton of it, and there is McConaughey talking with Timothée Chalamet about life and what's going on, and some really weird stuff, that a prank that McConaughey pulled on Chalamet when they were on set together. And there's all sorts of stuff that they talk about. Well, one of the things that they talk about was the idea that McConaughey says that basically AI actors are coming. This comes in and we should all prepare for it. But it also comes on the heels of this the Seed Dance video that came out, which was the Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt sort of thing, where it was very high quality.
30-second fight scene.
30-second fight scene. Thoughts on this? Because I think I'm living this right now, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on what they talked about and whether you think it's really a thing or not.
So they're asking McConaughey for his predictions, and of course he's not shy to give them, and he's been talking about this for a while. Where will there be an AI movie category? Will there be AI actors that are nominated? I mean, we don't know where that's going to go, but it's just interesting to hear somebody like McConaughey talk about it. What I thought was interesting, and I think here's a piece of advice for any thought leader out there. It's like, do you trademark your name? Do you trademark your frameworks and other things right now? Because they're going to be used by AI in some way. And if you have the ability to say, to at least somebody has to ask your permission for them, you are in a better position.
Yeah.
The last 12 months ago, I would have said, no, for like you and I don't think it's important for us to trademark our names or whatever. It's like, whatever. It's not going to be worth the amount of the $1,000 or $2,500 to do any of that work. So I'm not going to do it. A year later, I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm at the point where maybe I should. So I'm at that point. Like, I actually sent a note to my lawyer and I said, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And just to make sure that I've trademarked this podcast, everything we've got going on, like, just to make sure that we've, crossed the T's and dotted the I's, so that when it gets to the point where this stuff is just being used and generated, because you'll talk about it in a little bit, there's nothing holding back any of these companies in the form of regulation.
Sure.
I think we should protect ourselves. So.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And seeing that as a big piece of employment contracts, right? Where you've got, either executives or all the way down to marketers, or, I don't know how far down it goes, but basically as part of employment contracts, you're going to have a name, image, likeness clause, right? Where you're, how long and what you're allowed to use my name, image, likeness. If I'm a VP of marketing at a big company and you're going to make an AI version of me that does blogs and videos and all sorts of things, whether it's my voice, whether it's my face, whether it's my, my text, what going to create the Robert GPT, or you're going to create the Robert video, or you're going to create the Robert audio. How long after I leave the company are you allowed to use that? Forever? Because that's what it is now, right? There's nothing preventing anybody from taking an old CMO's likeness and saying, here it is, right?
Yep.
So I think it's going to become really interesting on terms of employment contracts and all those kinds of things in the future.
And I talked about it. I was on a podcast this week with Scott Martin, and we were talking about that same thing, where, like, if you should set your employee, if you're the enterprise, if you're the marketing team, set your employment contracts in such a way where, as long as they're with the company and they're creating content for the company and around the company and using company assets to do that, the company has the right to use that.
Sure.
But then even when you go, as long as it was with the company, for the company, those types of things, set it up in your favor. And there might be some negotiation there, but I think most employees would probably be okay with that and sign that, let that go through. But at least you're protecting yourself as a marketing team.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We're going to skip the other story, and we're going to get right to our marketing winners and losers. And we're going to, I don't know. This is from the last week, a loser or winner in the scheme of marketing communications. Would you like to go first with your
Yeah, mine's
AI
not light
creator?
mine's light and fluffy, so I could talk about
Okay.
mine because mine is just cool. So this is coming from the Published Press. We talk about them all the time. They're doing a great job. How this creator projects $5 million in landline phones. So this creator, who I was not aware of before, I don't know if you were, Robert, Catherine Cat GPT Gets.
Yep. I am aware, and I'll tell you why after you're done. Yeah.
Okay, launched a line of Bluetooth-powered landline phones called Physical Phones, and by the end of the year, they've generated at least $750,000 in revenue. If you go to the site, from the link, you can get it through the show notes. We'll put it in there. There's really cool old-fashioned phones, the ones you've seen in
the
Stranger
princess phones.
Things.
Yeah, the old princess
phones.
Yeah.
Any of those.
Yeah.
So you can get all kinds of phones there. And I just think, again, it's back to our discussion of nostalgia. Everything seems to be going back to the ways that were, if you will, but also you've got a content creator that's leveraging that and creating products from their following, and I just think it was a really cool idea. And if we could, we were talking about this with my friend group. It's like, if you could take the Bluetooth phone that's supposedly the landline phone and then like smash it down, like I'm hanging up on you, and it actually hangs up, I think that's probably worth it. That's probably worth it in and of itself, right?
Because
there.
nobody. There's a bunch of videos out there that basically are talking to like Gen Z kids, and they're asking them to mimic like what it's like to be on the phone and to hang up a phone. And it's like the parent will ask the Gen Z kid, what does being on the phone look like? And instead of this, which is what you and I would do, right? Yeah. They go like this. They have their hand cupped, right? And then if you say slant, basically hang up on somebody, we would go and do it like that. And the Gen Z kid holds up his hand and goes, and pokes at his hand. It's like so good, right? It's like, oh, right. Yeah. You don't even think about all those things. And I'll tell you very quickly, the reason I know about her and all of that is because here in Southern California, and especially here in the sort of, let's call it the hinterlands, the outer suburbs of Los Angeles, where I live, AT&T is the major provider here for landlines. And they came out last year and said, we're cutting off landlines. We're basically going to cut off landlines altogether. And as you might expect, people had a toxic freak out about that because cell coverage in a large part of the Southern California basin is not great because they have not done great coverage out here from Verizon and from AT&T. Yeah. But additionally, because landlines work right in so many ways when there's emergencies, right, when there's no power, and all those kinds of things, and for safety reasons, and especially for older people, it was considered like a big risk. It went to the state government, and the government said, no, you can't do this. And AT&T was fighting and fighting and fighting. They lost ultimately. They had to keep supporting landlines, but they're trying very hard to kill landlines in California right now. AT&T is, because they don't want to keep them up. They don't want to keep up the infrastructure for them anymore. And the other thing that's sort of layered into that is that copper theft has been huge in our region lately. And so landlines are going down almost weekly now because people are stealing the copper lines. So it's a big issue here in California.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, kudos to Cat GPT.
Yeah, it's totally fun. Yeah, totally fun.
What do you got? Well, no, let's go a little bit more somber now.
No, it's not somber. It's not somber. It's like everybody has said their piece on the men's hockey team fiasco, and I've read so many different posts on it and what they did or shouldn't have done or should have done, et cetera, et cetera. And here's the only thing I'll say about it. And I put this in the context of a marketing, communications, and storytelling perspective. And I wrote about this in my newsletter because that's where I went, right? So, what I basically took from that was when I think about what actually happened, because I went and watched the phone call, I went and watched what they did. And those kids, those men, basically, really did themselves their coaches and leaders did them a complete disfavor, right? Just completely, like, really failed them in helping them lead through the situation by letting Patel in there and guzzling beer and doing the celebration thing. And then by, sort of the phone call and how it happened and what went on, basically what they allowed themselves to do was to become part of a narrative that they shouldn't have been part of. In other words, they were getting their story told. And I use the analogy. I used to, one of my favorite comedians from when I was back working in comedy clubs was a comedian. Her name was Shirley Hemphill. And you won't remember Shirley Hemphill as a stand-up comedian. You'll only remember the show What's Happening?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So
I love What's Happening.
Shirley Hemphill was the waitress in the cafe.
Sure,
where they
absolutely.
yeah. She was awesome. She was an amazing stand-up comedian. And she used to have this line where she would work and do audience work. And she would say, she would inevitably say to somebody who's wearing a hat, she would say, "Yo, are you wearing that hat or is that hat wearing you?" And that is such the perfect analogy for what happened to the men's hockey team. They were basically, the hat was wearing them. And, so those that willingly participated, those that sort of stood there and cringed in silence but didn't say anything, and those that basically didn't care. All three of them guilty of the same thing, which is basically letting their story be told for them. And to then come out when they came back out and said, hey, you don't understand how we feel about the women's hockey team, is like, no, that's not only an icky response, it's a silly response, because basically what it says is that you didn't even realize being told for you. In other words, you don't even understand that you're being made a character. You're basically an NPC in a video game that you're not even playing. No. And so that is such a lesson for us as marketers and as companies and as brands, to make sure that you're aware of the stories that are being told about you, because if you're not, the story that will be told will probably not be one that you like being told. And that's the real lesson that I wanted to bring forward from that, because it's such a perfect example of someone wearing you as a hat. And so that's no,
I think it's a great point. I think it's unfortunate that athletes, anybody in that situation, has to be aware of that, but you do. This is the world we live in 100%. Now. You need to be aware of it. You need to know. And I agree with you. It's too bad that the coaching team didn't protect these kids and just let them enjoy this moment. They did something incredibly amazing. And that should have been the story. And the immediate interviews right after were fantastic. They handled themselves terrific. And then it was 5 minutes after that where all this stuff happened.
Yep, exactly. And the worst part of it all is that they dragged the women's team into that narrative too. Yeah. Because the women's story should have been amazing, gold again.
It is
amazing. But the narrative now is why they're refusing to go to, the State of the Union, and why they can't do this, and that they're going to have a separate celebration with Flava Flav in Vegas, and which is awesome, by the way. But the narrative gets lost. That's what's so painful about seeing them drag the women into that unwillingly, into a narrative that they didn't really want to even be part of.
Yeah.
And that's what's so unfair about the whole situation.
It's too bad. It really is.
All right, let's get to our rants and raves, where Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave over something that has made us feel like we had to sit through an hour and 45 minutes of the State of the Union, or something that makes us feel like we skipped it altogether. Skipped all of it, the counter programming and all of it altogether, and watched a episode of Big Bang Theory or something, which is what I did.
You go first. You go first.
Okay, I'm going to go first. So there's a lot of confusion right now what's going on with Anthropic this week. So there's two stories that have come out this week on Anthropic and the world of safety. By the way, on last week's show, I ranted and raved about agentic AI and asked people to send me examples and all that kind of stuff. Had some really interesting and some not as interesting examples of this, but I wanted to highlight one conversation in particular, which is I had with Camden. Hi, Camden, if you're out there listening. Our interaction and sort of trading of ideas and thoughts, and how Camden is using agentic AI in his business was just, it was just one of those conversations that you rarely get to have. It just super valuable, super thoughtful, and just wonderful. So I wanted to shout out for that. But anyway, so the sort of thing about Anthropic is on one side, this week, they basically let loose their safety standards, as they said, basically to keep pace with OpenAI and with Google and with others that are sort of doing that. And they're getting all sorts of heat from that. Unfortunately, on the same side, they're getting heat from Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, I guess it is. Jesus, it's so stupid. Basically saying that, hey, this $250 million contract that you have, we're going to cut it off if you don't loosen your, standards. And they've dug in their heels, basically saying, look, there's two major things that we don't want you to do here. We won't want you to use this for weapons of war, and we don't want you to use it to spy on Americans, neither of which the Department of Defense will actually acquiesce to. Basically, they're saying, no, you need to let us be able to do that if we want to be able to do that.
Yep.
And so they have until tomorrow. So it's not written yet. Basically, this story is unfinished in terms of what's going to happen, because it'll happen as this thing goes to air. So either Anthropic will cave and open this up, and I think they'll have basically the worst marketing week ever, after they've had some of the best marketing over the last 3 weeks in terms of brand and brand value and all those kinds of things, and they'll completely ruin it. Or I think this is a rave and could perhaps be the biggest thing that's going to jettison Anthropic to the top of the pile, because they're already chasing OpenAI's heels very closely with all their innovations and everything that they've been doing over the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
They could be ahead.
They are very quickly getting to big brand status when it comes to the AI, and maybe taking over some of what OpenAI has been able to do. But if this goes sideways, I think it will put them squarely back in the sort of also ran sort of category. So I'm just saying out there, that it'll be very interesting to follow this story. But the key is that understand that there are two stories here. There's one that you can be upset about, that they're no longer the safest AI platform because they're trying to keep pace with the others. The other is, are they going to dig in their heels and not let the Defense Department do what the Defense Department wants to do?
I would love to be a fly on the wall with these
my gosh,
conversations about Amadei and the other executive team.
Yeah.
They have really done a good job. Whether it's true or not, I think the perception is that Anthropic is the LLM, the frontier model that has a soul. And they have been positioning themselves that way. If they go against this to keep this Pentagon, what is it, a $200 million deal?
$200 million contract, yeah.
I'm assuming there's conversation going on to say, hey, if we say no, this could be it's immediate short-term hit for business. It could be better for business long-term. It could be. I think it is. I think it separates them. I think that's what you're saying as well.
Yes, from a brand perspective, it totally differentiates them. They create distinction. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it is. They've done a great job. Like, don't let it go with one little move.
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably been in these situations when you have to decide, well, there's some business out there, and if we make certain decisions as a company, we can get that business, but it feels in your heart and soul and everything you're thinking about that you shouldn't do it. This is one where they probably shouldn't do it, and say, you know what, we're going to hold the line. This is what we believe. I think most people would side with them on their beliefs. There goes the $200 million. They'll make that up. This is a $1 trillion opportunity either way for them.
Yeah. I think it's a tough spot for them to be in. I get it. Right. I mean, it's a very tough spot for them to be in, because showing progress and making these kinds of contracts and keeping pace with the market is so hard to do in a way, let us not forget that when Google first came out, the whole thing with Google was, we're not going to do evil, right? I mean, and everybody talked about that. Do no evil. We're not going to do any evil. We're not going to do. Everybody talked about that as part of the Google brand, and how quickly they just basically jettisoned that whole idea about their brand, and how cynical things have gotten with Google because of that.
It's going to be interesting to see what it's probably already happened. The choice has probably already happened. We just
I'm sure. The decision has been made for a few days now, I'm sure. But it'll be interesting to see what I could see a couple of different ways. One might be that Hegseth goes, okay, just kidding. We meant next month is your deadline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Or,
yeah. Well,
just
that's
keep
for
punting it
sure.
down the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it could be like, okay, no, you missed the deadline. You didn't do anything. You didn't come out one way or the other. Therefore, we're canceling the contract. There's one option that I read about that I don't know how true it is or not, that says basically they could call some emergency defense production act or something and basically force Anthropic to comply, which may ultimately be the way that Anthropic wants to go with this.
Yeah.
In other words,
had no
that would be
choice.
sad. It would be really, really sad if Anthropic allows that to happen. But if Anthropic says basically, yeah, you basically pull out the big gun and make us do it, force us basically,
me.
so that
Make me.
right. So that
Dario's like, make me.
right, right. Yeah.
I could see him doing that too.
Right. Well, no, it wouldn't be make me. It would be basically put a ball gag in my mouth and let me and force me to do it. Right. It's like,
jeez, I didn't need that image at all. Let me go through this because I know we're running out of time and I wanted to have some conversation. So
exactly.
last week you gave a really good commentary on this. You've talked about it on LinkedIn. I know you mentioned, and I haven't read Ann's post, but Ann did as well.
Yeah.
On Matt Schumer's article about the something big is happening.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to read it until this week because I wasn't reading anything while I was in Key West enjoying myself. And actually, it's a better life when you don't pay attention to things like this. But
probably
I come back to the real world and I go through this and I read it. And I'll give a little bit of a take on it, and I wanted to get your take because we might be in different places on it. Sure. I sent it to both my kids because I think it's that important for them to read it. It's not that everything needs to be true necessarily, but definitely that's the direction we're going in. And I thought the most interesting thing about Matt Schumer's take on, basically the short story is Matt Schumer's worked in AI for a long time and basically said, and it's another one of those articles from an AI thought leader about here's where we're going with AI, get ready and buckle up.
Yeah.
The thing that I think is so interesting is the updates from OpenAI and from Anthropic on February 5th were different in the respect that it came directly from the AI themselves, which means that AI created these latest versions themselves instead of having all this human programming done. And according to Matt, this is why this one is so much better, so much different, and we're going to see things move at an even faster pace. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that we should sell all of our stocks and go find a bunker, although I don't think that would be a horrible idea for a lot of people. But I do believe, and maybe this is where we differ on this thing, I do believe that we have a very, very short period of time before the way that we create content is consumed has changed. And I think it is less than 3 years. I think that 99% of content created will be done better by an AI, if not already in some cases. And I think that if you are in the content creation or marketing field, you need to know this. And whether or not preparing for that is, and maybe you got to take on this, is to go all the way down the rabbit hole of AI. I'm more of the case where you need to read this, you need to understand what's happening, and there will be friction. And you're the king of the valuable friction here. There will be friction coming from human beings that don't want to make these changes in many industries, and it will take way longer than Matt thinks. But the directional is there. Like, I think we can all see it. And I think that however you want to prepare for that happening, and whether that's 12 months or whether it's 12 years, I don't think it matters. I think directionally that's where we're headed. I don't think it's hard to think that that's the reality we're going to live in, where most of the content is going to be synthetically created. It's going to be harder for humans to break through. Marketing is going to change significantly. We don't exactly know how. So preparing for that in our own ways is really, really important to do right now. I will leave it to you to comment on that.
So the question becomes, so where I think he missed the point completely, and I think a lot of the, when I posted on LinkedIn, I had a few people who sort of, I believe, missed the point. And I think Matt Schumer really missed the point. Now, I'm going to grant Matt Schumer his earnestness here, right? That he's truly earnest about this. He comes with some baggage that everybody should be aware about, but he comes from baggage from a lot of places. But let's just put that aside for the moment and sort of focus in on his point, which he's trying to make, which is not dissimilar from what we've seen from other CEOs to say, basically AI is going to get to a point to make humans, meaningless, right? The question I get is, so the pushback I would have on him on this thing is that you can't have it both ways. In other words, the thing that he says, I'm no longer needed for the actual technical work of my job. I tell the AI what I want, and it's done better than I would have done it myself. And I say, okay, well, how do you know that AI is doing it better? Because you claim to be good enough to set the standard for what great or exceptional looks like, but at the same time, you say that it's doing it better than you. That you can't have it both ways. You can't be both the critic and basically the obsolete, right? So the question then becomes, if you can't resolve that, it's like, well, what advice are we actually giving our kids? Like, what are we actually telling them? I hear a lot of this. We have to prepare the children for what? What are you telling them to do exactly? Give up? Go get good at AI? Go get good at the thing that you want to get good at because AI is going to help you be better at it? I think ultimately, whether a lot of content is created with AI, all the content is created with AI, some of the content is created with AI, misses the point. It doesn't matter anymore. This is the argument I have with regard to music, and with regard to text and stories and novels and all of the things that we're going to consume as content consumers. Ultimately, all that content, of course, let's assume that many of the authors will use AI to create entire novels. Let's assume some of them will use AI to create some of the novel. Let's assume that they don't use any of it. It won't matter because the value is not determined at the source. The value is determined by the meaning and the consumption. The consumer determines the value of a piece of content. So if it's valuable, it doesn't ultimately matter. And so the understanding of who's going to curate the best feed, the best books, the ones that create that value with the consumer, will be those that use the tool in a way where they can recognize the value before it's actually put out. So I don't disagree with you that we have a short time to get good at the thing that we want to get good at, right? I want to get good at writing. I want to get good at strategy. I want to get good at marketing. I want to get good at, all these things. And then AI can help me scale and be better and amplify my skills there. But to say that I become obsolete with AI assumes that I don't have any value to begin with. And I just won't cede that. I won't cede that ability because I do have value to offer and I do have that and I can recognize what good looks like. Therefore, I know what to put into the world that hopefully people will find valuable. And that's the problem that he misses in that whole thing is you can't be made obsolete, but also the recognizer of standard of excellence at the same time.
I didn't get that, honestly. What I got from
he says it explicitly.
But that's not what I'm taking. What I'm taking from it, is you have the majority of people that are going through, let's say younger people that are going to college, that are looking for the job, whatever, are still going on a path like AI doesn't exist.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree that that's true. I don't think that that's true.
We have more people that are going to universities that are getting their credentials, they're getting their education, and what are they for? It's not an education system anymore. It's a credentialing system. So
that's a different that's an entirely different debate. That's an entirely different debate of whether higher education is actually good at what they do.
But that's an entirely different idea. That's just one part of it. I think that if you look at a lot of the career paths that are going on, a lot of the people that the reason that he wrote this is because he wanted to send something to his family and friends. He says it right in the beginning. He's like, I don't know. I used to just say, hey, things are moving fast or whatever. And he's trying to say right now, it's like, I need to tell you, this is how it is. It's kind of the way that I feel, even though nobody ever listens to me about Bitcoin. It's like, do you know that if somebody has a sovereign control over the financial system, they can change the rules at any point. I want some kind of a system that can't be changed. It's that kind of thing where like somebody's just like, oh, I don't care, or oh, I'm interested in that. So I think it's the same kind of thing. So this is where I think that is like, you took a different thing out of it. I'm taking a different thing out of it, where
I'm just saying that's an easy self-serving complaint to basically say, look out, there's a big thing coming that I happen to be the CEO of, and that I'm actually developing, and that I'm actually working on. And it's a huge thing, and you better pay attention to it. That's a self-serving complaint that ultimately I get to, okay, what am I supposed to do? Like, if I'm his friends and family, what are you telling me to do? And all he can offer is basically at the end of the article where he says, go get good at AI because you need to be better at AI. And I'm like, fine, that's a fine thing. That's a fine kettle of fish, as it were. But if you're not good at the thing that AI is going to help you get good at, getting good at AI means nothing. It's like telling somebody, go get good at electricity.
It says at the bottom here, go do something amazing. It's like, go do something, go do, you can do anything you want. I think that's what the thing is like, we have an opportunity today to maybe not fall into line with, oh, okay, we're going to go get a job, we're going to have a career, we're going to good retirement, whatever. That's gone. That is absolutely gone for most people out there. So we know that's gone. You even said, like, that's kind of where we're at. So since that's gone, what do we have to do? I think that's the question. In some cases, to your point, you don't have to do much. You're in an area where it's not affected. I think most of the people that I know are affected by it. I would say 90% of the people that I know doing all kinds of jobs are significantly affected about what's going on in AI.
But right.
And a lot of them don't, and a lot of them don't know, because they're doing
assuming
it
a level playing field
here.
But the challenge there is that you're assuming a level playing field. Because where immediately it goes is to, and you said it yourself, right? I'm sending this to my kids. And it's like, okay, what are you telling the kid? Exactly. Tell me what you're telling the kids to do. Like, prepare for the disruption is not an instruction.
Sure it is.
No, it's not. Prepare how?
All you need to know, you need to know that this is happening. It's just like in the stock market. It's like, hey, look, you know what? I'm looking at an average PE ratios right now are at 41 or 42 in the average, and they should be more like 27. That means the stock market is quite expensive. Like, that would be an example. So what do you do with it? Some people will do nothing. Some people will make changes to their portfolio because of it. Everybody will do something different to it, but having that knowledge is really, really important right now. That's all I'm saying. I'm like, it's like, you can make your own decisions on how you want to handle it, but you need to know that in this case, this is a really interesting story about how this is affecting this person.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree that this is an interesting story. I just think the one that he's telling is not terribly helpful.
I guess I would end it with saying, because I wanted to get Paul and Mike's take on the artificial intelligence podcast, and they basically said, to your point, he's so into it. Sometimes you forget how into it you are. Like, we're always in a marketing or content marketing bubble. Sometimes we don't realize that we're in this own bubble. So they make mention of that, which is true. I think we would all agree to that. But they also said he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong on anything he's saying.
He's not wrong about what? What is the point? That's why I keep coming back to that. What is the point? Like, acknowledging that there's a big disruption coming is such an easy and self-serving point to make. Right. To know something is happening. Something big is happening. Okay, thanks. Right. I mean, the self-serving point there to me is it's the same problem I have with the Sam Altmans of the world and Satya Nadella and all of them saying basically AI is going to change the world. Okay, help me understand. Like, if you're taking this big self-serving sort of disruption, like hyping it up that it's going to all change the world, tell me how to help me understand the implications of what it is you're actually saying.
But it would be different.
Saying something big is happening in the world. You can't say do this, because everybody's in a different position. Just like I was talking about with the portfolio, you can't say you have to do this. But let's just say, but he does. He actually does say specifically what you're supposed to go do. He says, "Go get good at AI." He literally says that in his piece.
I understand that, but I'm talking that we mentioned that, but I'm saying that this is a valuable piece for anybody to read because depending
Sure.
on your
I don't
position.
disagree with that. I don't disagree. I don't disagree
That's
with
all
that.
I'm saying. I'm not saying he's 100% right. I think that everybody
Yeah.
should read
I
it.
mean, I want to read stuff that I disagree with all the time. 100%.
I
I think
read
it's
your
valuable
stuff.
to read it. I just don't think that there's any after reading this very valuable piece, I disagree with what he's saying. I disagree with
So
his
you
point.
would say, okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate for 1 second.
Yes.
You would say that people should not tinker with this and try to figure
No,
some of this out.
that's not what I'm saying at
That's all
all.
he's saying. He's saying
No, he's not. He's
he's
not.
saying I've got it right in front of me. He's like, you should get involved. You should figure some of this stuff out. You should get involved. You should know what the tools are. You say,
Yes.
what's wrong with that?
But nothing's wrong with that. But but in the way that he's contextualized that, his argument is it doesn't. You are going, whatever you do is going to be made obsolete. So basically, you need to go get good at using the tool because whatever it is that you're going to do, like writing, coding, etc., it's going to be made obsolete. And so go get good at the tool because the tool is going to do it for you. That's the thrust of his argument.
Yeah,
My thrust basically says, go get good at the thing you want to get good at, whether that's coding, whether that's, brand strategy, whether that's writing, whether that's strategy, whatever it is, go get good at that because then, yes, tinker around with AI, make sure that it's amplifying what it is, but you have to understand what good looks like on the other side of it in order to actually be good at anything.
I don't disagree with that.
I just think the priorities are mixed up here. If I'm talking to, this is where I got into a bit of a debate on my LinkedIn post. If I'm telling a young child, like someone who's just going into university and saying, what do I do? Like, do I go study how to get good at AI or do I go study how, marketing or because it feels like the world is telling me that I'm going to be obsolete anyway, that I'm going to be sitting on a deck boat like in Wall-E, basically with a vibe coding thing on, letting AI tell me what to do. You sent me that ad, that great ad, basically that fun sort of AI ad where it's got, Elon Musk and Sam Altman basically saying, well, now we have human powered AI and all the humans are doing is doing exercise to power the electricity needs of AI because AI is running the world. It's like, that dystopian future is not in my future anyway. And I think telling kids that the priority for them should be technology and learning how to use a typewriter instead of learning how to write is not good advice. So I'm
totally
talking
disagree with. He is not giving that advice. He is
giving that advice.
He's saying what you're saying. He's saying do what interests you, do what you're good at, and figure out how AI can help you. That's what he's saying. That's what you're saying. You guys are saying the same thing.
No, disagree. Yeah, disagree that's what he's saying. Yeah, he doesn't say that. He basically says it's better than me at doing the thing, so I don't need to do it anymore. He opens with that. He says basically it's better than me now, so I don't need to do it anymore.
In the tasks that he was doing. It's not saying that the things that interest him are the things that he's good at, and specifically.
Exactly, because he could recognize what good looks like. That's the point. He's trying to have it both ways. He's saying basically it doesn't need me anymore to do anything because I can look at it and go, hey, it's great. But
you're way expanding what he's. I think you're reading too much into it. I think you're reading too much into it.
I'm not. Definitely not.
I'm reading. It's got it right in front of me. I'm like looking at this thing.
I'm definitely not reading too much into it.
I guess that my advice would be, and maybe your advice is the same thing, is that if I'm talking to somebody younger or somebody young in their career, is figure out as much as you can what does interest you and figure out as much as you can what you're good at. And if you don't know those things, ask people.
Yes.
Like what you're good at, ask people.
Go get relationships with people.
And then you can go around
that. Do the thing that you want to do. Build your community.
Yeah, exactly. Where I'm a little bit frustrated when I talk to some younger people is they're trying to figure out where the jobs are going to be. And I'm like, don't do that. That is a fool's game. Yeah, like focus on what you're good at, what you can do, what interests you, not necessarily your passions. Although, I would disagree with Galloway in some cases. Like maybe this is the time when we do focus on our passions. That would be better than going down a path that, like, I don't know if, to your point about coding, like if you're like that might be an area where, what kind of coding, like coding has completely changed in the last 24 months, the whole idea of that. So do you give somebody who wants to get into coding, do you say, keep going? If it interests you, then great. But if you're looking for a job in that area, then don't. I mean, like, really. So I don't know. It's big. I guess my point is, I don't think we're that far off.
From what?
I think it's semantics.
From what? Far off from what?
From saying the same thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're not far apart. I got you.
Yeah, I don't think we're far. I don't think we're far apart. I don't think we're far.
I don't think we're that far apart either.
I just took way different things from it than you did.
Yeah,
I took it as instruction. I took it as instructional, as a whole piece, as important as a whole piece, and you're like picking it apart. I'm not doing that.
I'm sorry that I looked for meaning in the details. Yeah.
I just look at it in a different way. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's we beat that horse. That horse.
There you go. Blew. That was fun. That was totally fun. I love that. I loved every minute of that.
All right. Well, we'll cut that one up. Put that on short form video, and we'll really kill off.
Good luck. Have fun with that one, Max.
That one. Jesus. All right. What do you got going on this week?
I got. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Honestly, I'm getting Starlink installed. I'm installing Starlink. No. As a backup web internet stuff, because our cable modem goes out. So it's where I'm setting.
Do you feel like morally compromised?
No, I don't love that. I don't love that, but I really need a good backup here in the hinterlands of Los Angeles, and I just can't be offline. Then
I never thought I'd see the day.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
All right. What do I got going on?
Yeah. What do you got going on?
That's a really good question. I'm here. I'm here this week. Oh, yeah. We're going on a little trip to Pittsburgh with some friends. We're going to go to an Arsenal bar.
Okay.
And watch Arsenal on Sunday morning at a different location, and nice. they're still in first place, but they're clinging to first.
Yeah.
So we're all very concerned right now. But
totally fun. That's what a great thing.
All right. I'm exhausted. Right. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go, folks. Thanks for hanging in there, watching mom and dad fight. That was always fun. We will see you again next week with a regular show. And until we see you again next week, just remember, everybody, it's your story to tell. Make sure I'm the one you're telling. Tell your story well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.